Chapter 7. I was jealous. I mean, okay, if you ever have to be stuck as an animal, I think being a hawk is the coolest choice of all. But still, I was jealous. My friends were really enjoying being wolves. I guess it was a strange experience for them. I flew above the forest, skimming the treetops, while down below they ran. They moved so fast it wasn't always easy for me to keep up. Not that their actual speed was so great, it's just that they never stopped, never rested. They just moved at a constant 20 miles an hour or so. Over fallen logs, between trees, under bushes. Nothing ever slowed them down. Well, actually, that's not completely true. Two things slowed them down a little. One was Jake. He was the dominant male. In wolf packs, that's called an alpha. So he had a special wolf job to perform. Jake, just how many more times are you going to pee? Rachel demanded after his fifth stop. I don't know. I kind of have to do it a lot, he admitted. Why? Did you drink too much soda before we left? I don't know, he admitted. I just keep getting this urge to pee. You're scent marking, Cassie explained. You're marking out a territory. I am? Yes, you are. It's normal for a dominant wolf. At least that's what my wolf book said. Although it's a little gross for the rest of us to have to watch. The other thing that slowed them down a little was when they stopped once and started to howl. It was Jake who started it. It caught everyone by surprise, including Jake himself. What? The Mark started to say, but then he was doing it too. Yow, yow, yow. Rachel and Cassie weren't far behind. I heard the howling, of course, so I took a quick turn around a tree and headed back to them. What are you people doing? I demanded. We're in a hurry here. You guys can only stay in more for 2 hours. Why are you wasting your time howling? I don't know, Jake admitted sheepishly. I just suddenly felt like it would be a good idea. Once he started, I kind of felt like I should join in, Rachel said. I think it's a way to warn all the other wolves that we're here so we don't run into any other packs and get us in fights, Cassie suggested, which sounded perfectly reasonable, until you saw that Cassie had her head tilted back and her snout pointed to the sky and was yodeling like an idiot. I flapped my wings and broke out from under the trees. The city and the suburbs were far behind me now. We could travel pretty far in an hour's time. It was about the same time of day as my second sighting of the invisible ship. The time when it had been heading toward the mountains. I swooped back down into the trees. You guys keep moving. I'm going to go to the top and look around. Be careful, Rachel said. I banked left around a tree, and then flapped my way back up into the sun. I climbed hard and fast, using lots of energy. The exercise helped distract me. It's hard feeling sorry for yourself when you're working out big time. After a while, I was able to catch a nice thermal and get some easy altitude. I could still see the little wolf pack, moving like I had a single mind, following around the trees, swift and sure. I tried to imagine what it must be like to be a wolf. The amazing sense of smell, the incredible hearing, all that confident power, those ripping teeth, the cool intelligence. Maybe later I would ask Jake or Rachel about it. Then you can ask them what it was like to be human. Maybe they can tell me about that too, I thought bitterly. Stop it, Tobias, I ordered myself. Stop it. I guess I felt that if I ever started to feel really sorry for myself, I might never stop. I kept a sharp eye out in the sky above, but it was probably still too early for the ship to come. Even if it came, there was no reason to think it was kept some kind of schedule. Then, down below, I saw something that caught my attention. There was a convoy of trucks and jeeps moving along a narrow, snaking road, maybe 5 vehicles. They had the markings of the Park Service, but they seemed to be in a big hurry. They drove to a lake that I had just glimpsed up ahead. By the shore of the lake, they pulled off the road. Then, to my surprise, several dozen uniformed men jumped out of the trucks and began to fan out through the woods. They were carrying guns. But not rifles or even pistols. I could see them clearly. They were carrying automatic weapons. Suddenly, movement in the sky. What the... To my left, I spotted a pair of helicopters. They zipped just inches above the trees. They began to circle the lake. They also had Park Service markings. This is all wrong, I told myself. These guys don't act or move like park rangers. These guys move like an army. And as I watched, half a dozen of the armed men surrounded a small patch of bright yellow. It was a tent. Two people, they looked like college types, were cooking over a little fire outside the tent. I could see the expressions of total amazement and fear when they suddenly realized they were surrounded by 6 men with automatic weapons. The 2 campers were marched back to the nearest truck and driven away at high speed. I don't know what story those 2 campers were told. Maybe the park rangers told them there was a dangerous fugitive in the area, or maybe they said that there was a forest fire. I don't know. I just know those 2 campers were out of there before they knew what hit them. The 2 choppers circled the lake. Then they landed in a small clearing at the far side of the lake at the same time. It was more than a mile away, far even for my hawk's eyes, in the slanting light of the afternoon. But I could still see what came out of those helicopters. Out they leaped, one after another, 7 feet tall. The most dangerous-looking creatures you'll ever want to see. Foot-long, razor-sharp blades raked from their snake heads. More blades at their elbows, wrists, and knees. Feet like Tyrannosaurus Rex. The shock troops of the Yerks. Hork-Bajir warriors. Chapter 8. Hork-Bajir. The first time I'd seen them was at the construction site. I was still fully human then. It was while Visor 3 was taunting the fallen Andalite. The 5 of us had been cowering behind a low wall. A Hork-Bajir had been within a few feet of us. The Andalite told us they had once been good people, the Hork-Bajir, that despite their fearsome appearance, they were a gentle race. But the Hork-Bajir were all controllers now. They all carried the Yerk slug in their brains. And they were no longer gentle. I made a sharp turn back. I had to warn the others. I passed over a group of the park rangers and swooped low enough to read one man's watch. My friends had been in Morph for more than an hour. Great. Low on time, and the Hork-Bajir are here. I soon spotted the wolf pack, still trotting along resolutely, never tiring, pausing only for Jake to pee. I dived toward them. Just over their heads, I pulled up suddenly. Yahoo! They yipped and scampered around. Jake bared his fangs at me. I came to rest on a decayed log. Instantly, as if on command, the others started fanning around me and circling me. The 5 of them were acting like wolf packs surrounding prey. In their own way, they kind of reminded me of Hork-Bajir. Hey, it's just me, relax. No answer. Jake snarled a brief command at one of the others. Wait a minute, 5? 5 wolves? Jake, who wasn't really Jake, leaped at me. Whoa! Wolves don't usually hurt humans, but they will definitely eat a bird when they're hungry enough. And one thing you don't ever want to see is a hungry wolf, yellow fangs bared, gold-brown eyes glaring, fur bristling, coming at you. I flapped my wings hard. The big male wolf went shooting past, barely, but the rest were all around me. I flapped again and got airborne, but just a few inches. I was skimming wildly over the pine needle carpet, flapping for all I was worth, with 5 determined wolves hot on my tail. Swoom! I caught the tiniest headwind, but it was all I needed. I was up and out of there, while the wolves yowled and snapped their powerful jaws in frustration below me. 10 minutes later, I found a second wolf pack. This time I counted 4 wolves. Still, I was cautious. Is that you guys? Who else would it be? Marco asked. Don't ask, I said. Look, we have trouble. I flapped down at the low branch and rested my wings. I was still a little shaken up from my close call with the wrong wolves. There's a lake just a little way ahead. It's crawling with park rangers who aren't really park rangers. Yeah, I thought I smelled water and humans, Cassie said. How do you know they aren't real park rangers? Jake asked. Because real park rangers don't carry machine guns, I said. Plus, they don't hang around with Hork-Bajir. Hork-Bajir? Cassie asked shakily. You sure? Oh yeah, I said. It's kind of hard to confuse them with anything else. The park rangers are clearing out the area around the lake. They hustled some campers out of there real fast, at gunpoint. Hork-Bajir, Marco said with distaste. I don't really like those guys. Rachel asked, This lake, it's in the same direction your big invisible ship was moving? It's in a perfectly straight line, I said. Whatever that ship was, I bet anything it was heading for that lake. And judging by the way you say these park rangers, controllers, and Hork-Bajir are acting, it's on its way again, Marco said thoughtfully. I'll tell you one thing, I said. These guys all look like they'd done this many times before, you know what I mean? Like this was a real common routine. They had it down. We don't have a lot of time left in Morph, Jake said. but it would be a shame to miss the chance to find out what this is all about. I say we go for it, Rachel said. You always say go for it, Marco muttered. If just once you would say, hey, let's not do this, it would make me so happy. You have about 40 minutes left, I told them. The lake is about 5 minutes away. Okay, let's go. But in and out fast, Jake warned. Just enough to see what's going on. They took off, with Jake in the lead. Remember, just act like wolves. Yeah, so if anyone sees the 3 little pigs, don't forget to huff and puff, Marco said. I went airborne again, but this time I stayed close by. Park rangers just ahead, I said. Yeah, I can definitely smell them now, Rachel replied, and hear them too. Okay, look, wolves would try to steer clear of humans, Cassie advised, so a little slinking would be perfectly normal. They moved in a cautious circle around the phony park rangers, but I could see that the rangers had spotted them. They tensed up, then relaxed when they saw it was just a wolf pack minding its own business. I decided to get some altitude. Unfortunately, since there were no convenient thermals, I had to flap my way up. I was a few thousand yards high, able to see my friends and the lake, but I felt its presence again. I looked up. The invisible wave, the slight ripple in the fabric of the sky. It was there. It was moving slowly overhead, even more slowly than before. And then, as I watched, it was invisible no more. Chapter 9. Don't act suspicious or freak, I called down to the others, but look up. Oh my God, Rachel gasped. It's huge, Cassie cried. It was huge, but the word huge doesn't really begin to describe it. Have you seen a picture of an oil tanker? Or maybe an aircraft carrier? That's what I mean by huge. Compared to this thing, the biggest jumbo jet ever built was a toy. It was shaped like a manta ray. There was a bulging, fat portion in the middle with swooped, curvy wings on either side. On the top of the wings were huge scoops, like air intakes on a fighter jet, but much bigger. You could suck a fleet of buses in through those scoops. The only windows were a small bulge at the top. The bridge, I realized. Focusing on it, I could see the shadowy shapes of Texans inside. But mostly that ship was just big, really big, as in it blocked out the sun, it was so big. Suddenly, out from behind the ship, a pair of bug fighters zipped into view. We had seen them before. They were small for spaceships. You couldn't park one in your garage, but you could land it on your front lawn. They looked like metal cockroaches with 2 serrated spear-like protrusions pointing forward on either side. I have bug fighters up here, I called down to the others. A pair. Who cares about bug fighters? Marco asked. They're nothing compared to that whale. The bug fighters are circling the lake. I guess they're looking around for trouble. Try not to look like trouble, Jake advised dryly. I did my best to look like a normal, harmless hawk, doing normal hawk things, but the main ship was unbelievably intimidating. I mean, nothing that big should be floating in the air. Suddenly, one of the bug fighters went swooping right past me, low and slow. I could see in the window. Inside was the usual crew, 1 Hork-Bajir and 1 Texan. The Texans are the second most common type of controller. Imagine a very big centipede. Now imagine it even bigger, twice as long as a man. So big around you couldn't get your arms around it if you wanted to give it a hug. Not that you'd ever want to give it a hug. Texans are gross, disgusting creatures. Unlike the Hork-Bajir, who were enslaved against their will, Texans chose to turn their minds over to the Yeerk parasites. They are allies of the Yeerks. I don't know why, and I probably don't want to. The bug fighter shot past, not interested in me. The huge main ship sank slowly down toward the surface of the lake. Are you guys seeing this? It looks like it's going to land on the lake. Are we seeing it? No. We've totally missed the fact that a spaceship the size of Delaware is hovering in midair. Marco, of course. It's incredible, Rachel said. Incredible. You know, I hate to be a pessimist, Marco said, but when I look at that thing, I get a bad feeling about our chances. 4 hounds and a bird versus a ship the size of Idaho. A minute ago, it was just the size of Delaware, Cassie pointed out mildly. What's it doing here? That's what I want to know, Jake said. They had reached the shore of the lake and were prowling along, looking like wolves should look. But they were also glancing regularly up at the massive ship. I worried a little as some controller, a human or Hork-Bajir, would notice they were paying a little too much attention. You guys, watch how you act. The Yeerks will be looking for any animals that act strangely, I said. They're on the lookout for Andalites who can morph. He's right, Rachel agreed. Jake, start peeing on things again. Very funny, Jake said. But then something began to happen. Hey, look! From the belly of the ship, a pipe began to lower into the water. Then a second pipe, and a third. They're like straws, Cassie said. They're drinking. I could hear the sucking sound, thousands, maybe millions of gallons of water being sucked up into the ship. That's why it's so big, Marco said. He laughed. Well, what do you know? We have just discovered that the Yeerks have a great big weakness. A weakness? Rachel demanded. You can look at that ship and talk about weakness? I understood what Marco meant. It means they need something. I said, exactly, Marco said. Those big scoops on the side? I think those are for air. That's why they fly so far through the atmosphere when they come down. They're scooping up oxygen. And now they are sucking up water. It's a truck, Cassie cried. The whole huge ship is really just a truck. Yeah, I said. It carries air and water up to the Yeerk mothership in orbit. I guess they need Earth to supply them. So, it's not like Star Trek where they can just make their own air and water, Marco mused. As long as they are up there in the orbit, the Yeerks need the planet to supply them with air and water. Well, I think that's the first hopeful sign yet. We're running low on time, Cassie reminded everyone. Time to get out of here. Okay, but everyone be cool about it, Jake advised. We act like we're just sauntering off to kill a moose, or whatever it is wolves saunter off to do. They drifted back from the shore of the lake. I stayed behind. I no longer have the time limit to worry about. The Yeerk ship was creating a warm updraft, so I spread my wings wide and rode it up. The two bug fighters were still circling low and slow. On the shore all around the lake, the bogus park rangers and the few Hork-Bajir kept up their patrols. And then I saw her. I know to human eyes, every hawk looks pretty much alike, but I knew right away it was her, the hawk I had freed from the car dealer. She too was riding the thermal, 1,000 yards higher than me. Without even really thinking about it, I adjusted the angle of my wings and soared up towards her. She saw me, I was sure of that. Hawks don't miss much of what goes on around them. She knew I was coming toward her, and she waited. It wasn't like we were friends. Hawks don't know what friend means. And she certainly did not feel any gratitude towards me for saving her from captivity. Hawks don't have that sort of emotion either. In fact, in her mind, there may have been no connection between me and her freedom. Still, I soared up to her. I don't know why, I really don't. All we shared was the same outer body. We both had wings. We both had talons. We both had feathers. Suddenly I was afraid. I was afraid of her. And it was insane because there I was, floating above an alien spaceship so big it could have been turned into a mall. But it was the hawk that frightened me. Or maybe not the hawk herself. Maybe it was the feeling I had, rising up to meet her in the sky. The feeling of recognition. The feeling of going home. The feeling that I belonged with her. It hit me in a wave of disgust and horror. No! I was Tobias, a human being, not a bird. I banked sharply away from her. I was human. I was a boy named Tobias, a boy with blonde hair that was always a mess, a boy with human friends, human interests. But part of me kept saying, it's a lie. It's a lie. You are the hawk. The hawk is you, and Tobias is dead. I plummeted toward the ground. I folded my wings back and welcomed the sheer speed. Faster, faster. Then with eyes that Tobias never had, I saw the wolf pack below. And I saw the danger before them. Chapter 10. My 4 friends stood stock still. They were staring with deadly focus at 5 other wolves. The 2 packs had run into each other. Between them lay a dead rabbit. It was the other pack's kill. My friends had just stumbled into them. Now the 2 alpha males were locked in a deadly dominance battle. One of those alpha males was Jake, and the other was an actual wolf. Jake had human intelligence on his side, but if it came to a fight, the other wolf had more experience. He hadn't gotten to be the head wolf in his pack by losing fights. I would have laughed if I could. It was ridiculous. But at least it took my mind off the female hawk, off the feeling that drew me to her, that called out to me even while Yerk's ship zipped in a deadly dance through the air. Then it hit me with a shock. The time! They'd been low on time when they left the shore and started back. How much time had elapsed? I swooped down. "What are you guys doing?" I demanded. "Shut up, Tobias," Jake snapped tersely. "We're in a situation here." "Yeah, I can see that. Back away from them." "I can't. If I back off, I lose." "Lose what?" I yelled. "You're not a wolf." "He's a wolf. Let him be boss wolf. You guys are way low on time." "It's not that simple," Cassie said. "If Jake looks weak, the other alpha may attack. We screwed up. We're in their territory, and they think we're trying to steal their kill." Suddenly, the other big male snarled and took a step forward. Instantly, Jake bared his teeth still further and stood his ground. The dead rabbit lay between them, only a few feet from the vicious teeth on either side. "This fight's over the rabbit, right?" I said. No answer. Everyone was so tense that they were quivering. At any second, this would explode into an all-out gang warfare on the wolf variety. I knew what I should do, but it went against every instinct in the hawk's brain. And Tobias the human wasn't exactly thrilled either. I flapped up to gain a little height. I would need the speed. Then I locked my eyes on the rabbit and prayed that I was just as fast as I thought I was. Oh man. Down I shot. My talons came forward. "Steer!" I screamed. Zoom. A wolf on each side. A dead rabbit. Black. My talons hit the dead animal and snatched at the fur. I flapped once, twice. The rabbit came off the ground. The big wolf lunged. I could feel his teeth rake my tail. I flapped for all it was worth, scooting along the ground, half carrying, half dragging the dead rabbit, with the wolf racing just inches behind me. "Tobias!" Rachel cried. "Get out of here," I yelled. "I have to drop this thing. It's too heavy." Fortunately, when he isn't being an idiot wolf, Jake is quick and decisive. "Let's go while we can," he said. I dropped the rabbit just as the wolf caught up to me. Snap! Just like I could kill a moose, scissored the air 1/10 of an inch from me. And I'm telling you, he was close enough for me to count his molars. I felt the tiniest bit of breeze. It was enough. I opened my wings and let the breeze lift me up and away. "Oh, that was really not fun," I said. "Are you okay?" "I think I lost some tail feathers," I said. Tail feathers grow back. I caught up with the others. They were moving as fast as wolves can move. Time was running short. I didn't exactly know how much time. It was one of the continuing problems of morphing. Even if you could wear a watch, you wouldn't want to. A wolf or a hawk with a watch looks slightly suspicious. "I'll see if I can get a time reading," I said. I was tired, very tired. After the long flight here, and not one but 2 close calls involving wolves, the hawk in me just wanted to find a nice branch with a view of an open field and take a rest. But I knew I couldn't. I gained a little altitude, not too much, just enough to spot one of the Park Service trucks. The controllers were off somewhere, but there was a clock in the dashboard. I stared at the number in disbelief. It had to be wrong. It had to be.